feel like I can come to YouTube, and if something is bothering me enough, I can just put it out there, and I know I'm going to get some good, positive, helpful feedback. My friend Wendell, our friend Wendell, rather, he checks on me. And matter of fact, I had to get used to it because like he would be calling me sometime, and I'd just be like, jokingly, but I'd be like, man, what the hell you want? And he'd be like, I can't just check on my dog. And then I'm like, yeah, you know what? You can check on your dog. What's up, man? What's up?
What up, what up, what up? It's Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. I am Tavares Ferguson, aka Ferg, joined my co-host, Rozzy and Buff. Fellas, tell them what's on your minds.
So, you guys know I talked about Vikings Valhalla coming back for season 2. So if you like Viking shows and that type of stuff, it's based on the original Vikings that was on the History Channel. So it's really about historical figures. It uses names and all of this stuff. So it's pretty cool. But one part or one thread in this, I finished it last night and it just blew my mind because I had to bring myself to think about the writer or the producer that's going in trying to pitch this. And I just pictured some dude walking in to the executive office saying, okay, we've done Vikings. Everybody's done Vikings. But how about we have Vikings that are Nazis? And the executive's like, God damn it, I'm in. Like, that's what season 2 was. It was the weirdest, most crazy thing, but it worked. And so it's actually a really, really good season. It's wild, but yes, they have a group of Vikings that are generally Nazis. So, go check it out if you want to look at a little bit of a different take on Vikings and stuff like that. It's a really good storyline. It's really cool. So, but just talking about shows.
Hold on. So, like, does it make them better? Like, the Vikings weren't necessarily looked up to as like good guys anyway. Like, they raped and pillaged. Now they rape and pillage and hang people. I don't know what the. Yeah. I mean, are they lynching?
No, pretty much. Yeah, they do. They do kind of hang some folks, but it's you got to think about Vikings were the folks that went out on raids, right? But you had Viking culture, the city and stuff that was back at home which was just normal women, children, religious practices and all of that. So it's about the Norse people, not necessarily just about Vikings. And so you get a little bit of that, and that's where the political structure of it comes in. So that's what the show's generally about. So
they rape and pillage, but they save.
Save. Like, yeah, that's what they're trying to do.
God dang it, Rozzy.
He rapes, but he saves.
All right, my bad. Continue, sir.
Yeah. The other thing that I had to talk about was BMF and Charles. So I don't know if y'all know about BMF, and it came back for season 2, and I just want to say the dad is trash. Meech and Terry dad is trash. Just throw it out. I'm gonna leave it at that. No spoilers. See, Ferg, I'm getting better.
I was gonna, but let's go there.
Oh, okay, we can go there.
No, I'm gonna tell you why I don't like that. I'm gonna tell you why when the dad hit me, because the mama kind of trashy too, but when he had a chance to smash,
he pulled out the credit card bill.
Like, that's how somebody put it on the post earlier. That's an anger I never want to feel, where I'm so mad I turned out. I never want to reach that level of anger. It's like, nah, I'm good. Let me start this argument.
Especially if you haven't been getting it and you've been complaining about not getting it, and now she's trying to give it to you.
Yeah, she all dolled up, ready to get her junk off. And now I would have brought the credit card. Would have brought the credit card bill up later. I mean, it's not like you not smashing is not going to pay the credit card bill. Like, the credit card bill's still there. You might as well get you something and still be broke.
Yeah. And angry sex is like some of the best sex anyway.
it was a thing back in the day. It was a whole thing. Like, you know, we're young, you know, like, you mad at me, I'm mad at you. Let's go smash.
Yep.
But now, I never want to reach that level in my life. Take me now, Lord. Yeah. All right, my bad. Continue.
Nah, man, that's all
trash.
I got. Well, actually, it just came up last night. But did you guys see about Shannon Sharp and the Memphis Grizzlies and all of that? Like, that was wild, man. Like, Uncle Shannon was like, "Nah, he ain't having it," but he ain't really want that smoke though, for real.
Ooh, I beg to differ.
I think he did.
I think they don't want that smoke, bro. I'll put my money on Shannon any day.
Yeah, that's a big boy. Look at those hands.
Smoking a cigar, because he's not scared to lose too. Like, I feel like he's one of those dudes at a fight, and he might take the, because it was like 3 of them, right?
Yeah,
he'll take the L, but his L ain't gonna be as big as at least one of them. Somebody's gonna come out on the bad end of that stick. Like, somebody's gonna catch the worst of it. So, and he's fine. He'll go smoke his cigar a day later. Them boys, I don't know.
Yeah. They'll be out a couple games at least.
Yeah.
After that scrap.
What you got for us, Buff?
Grand opening, grand closing. We congratulated Ed Reed on the Bethune-Cookman head coaching job, and now he's no longer the coach. He did make a video that went somewhat viral, criticizing the facilities and everything like that. And now, I think earlier today, or maybe even yesterday, he just announced that they're not going to ratify his contract, so he won't be the coach. Also, I have been, you guys know I've been watching old sitcoms, Martin. I just started back watching Rock again, and it just hit me because of something I saw on Twitter, man. We really do, I guess I shouldn't say it just hit me, but we really do get used in a sense and then just kind of thrown away. Like the network Fox, okay, when they started out, they were like, hey, we're going to serve the underserved. You know, we're going to have Martin and Living Single and New York Undercover and Rock, you know, the black audience that these other networks aren't really serving like that. And then once they got big enough to bid on the NFL games and got the NFL, then it was like, okay, we need to broaden our audience. Like we got our popularity, we got our money, now we need to broaden our audience and cater to white people. You saw the same thing with And One. If you watch the And One documentary, a lot of black bodies used to make a lot of money for these white men. And then at the end of the day, they kept pretty much all the money. And the majority of those black players ended up broke with nothing. And it brought me, what made me think of all this is what's happened with, have you guys heard of Mielle? I think I'm pronouncing it right, but it was a black-owned hair product that black women were loving.
Yeah.
And they just announced that they are going to be partnering with Procter & Gamble. And a lot of black women, from the comments I've seen, feel betrayed because they're like, Procter & Gamble, they're going to change the ingredients. It's going to be watered down. And I think some white girls like made a viral TikTok video using it. And so they wanted to be more included in the brand and stuff. So they're like, yeah, Procter & Gamble are going to cater to them now. So if all that is true, it's like, once again, we get used up. Even if it's a black-owned company, we saw BET do this. You know, it was owned by Bob Johnson and then sold to Viacom, and now it's a bunch of buffoonery. Not that BET was like this great beacon of intellectual programming, but they did have some... you know, some type of substance program, but now it's just like, what is the college, those college reality shows or whatever they be having. It's like a lot of buffoonery, but once again, we get used up, and then once they get that money, they forget about it. So just wanted to put that frustration out there that I saw. And last but not least, Razio, you posted about The Last of Us. I just want to make sure everybody know The Walking Dead finally ended. I don't know if anybody knows that. People stopped watching it. They finally brought it to conclusion. It's a happy ending. And I know, Razio, you said that it was funny too, because you was like, The Last of Us is like the new Walking Dead. And Marquise was like, is that good or bad? So just wanted to put those out there, man.
Yeah, The Last of Us is actually really good, man. It's it reminds me of season 1, season 2 of The Walking Dead, before they started drawing it out and started worrying about shock value. That's really what happened with The Walking Dead. They went away from the actual, like, and it was rinse and repeat, right? Every season was generally the same thing with a different group. That, and in order to keep people interested, they just started like killing people off, changing what was happening in the comic books. And I think that's a lot of what happens most times, is you got an audience that wanted to watch this because they knew of the source material or whatever. That was kind of like what you were talking about with using the source and the people who really support it, and then shifting to that broader audience. That's exactly what they do. That's what DC did. DC like takes all of these classic freaking storylines and it's like, hey, let's switch it up because we're making a new movie, instead of just doing what Marvel does and says, let's make the storyline that everybody loved. Yeah, we're going to tweak 1-2 things here, but generally we're telling the story from the comic book because we know people really, really liked it. DC just messed that up, and I think that's what The Walking Dead did. But The Last of Us, their showrunner is like, no, we know it's limited series. We know we only got about 2 or 3 seasons in us. We're making it, basically we are recreating the video game, and that's it. And so a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the scenes and everything are straight out of the video game. And so that's what I think is making it like really hit home with a lot of people, because those video game developers and even, when they write the comics and stuff, they know that source material really well. So it's going to be good, man. I got faith in this one.
Okay. I got 2 things real quick. First of all, your boy in Georgia, Santos.
What do you do now?
He's in Georgia?
Oh, no, I mean not Georgia. What is he? He's
from New York.
New York. I don't know why I think of Georgia. Oh, George. Oh, but the thing about it is, this dude can't win for losing. So he bashed or applauded the Florida anti-gay bill and all stuff, but now there's footage of him being a drag queen that was coming out, and
which he has denied. Yeah,
he denied, but it's like, oh, really? Bet? Look at this! Like they pulled his card. I think he finally admit to it now.
I haven't seen the admission, but I felt like he was going to try the tactic of the Republican tactic of, this is the media coming after me now. It's the media. It's us versus the media. So that's what I've been seeing a lot of. But if he admitted to that, then that's big.
Yeah,
would that change his base and turn his base off?
I know we feel like Republican voters stick with their candidate no matter what. I will say, when it comes to, and I'm not criticizing them, I'm just stating what happened. When it comes to them, remember Larry Craig? Okay, Republican Party forgive a lot of things, but it seems like when it comes to gay behavior, then they don't mind throwing you out. So when Larry Craig had the bathroom incident and Trent Lott said, this is unforgivable. I'm like, wow, that's what's unforgivable? Okay, all right. So we'll see. They may be more willing to, if he's admitted to it, like Ferg said, they may be more willing to say, hey man, it's your time to go ahead and step down.
Yeah, we'll see how that pans out. I mean, he's been very popular with all these accusations for the last couple of weeks now, and none of that seemed to have swayed anybody. But like you said, this might be the last straw, because what we're not going to have is the gays, as a lot of Republicans might call it, representing them and teaching their kids these behaviors or whatever. Because he's gonna have some backlash now. There's definitely gonna be some backlash. I'm gonna be very interested to see how Fox News plays this. Do they defend him? Do they sweep it under the rug?
Well, they're not going to bring up the drag. I mean, they'll treat it like they did with Giuliani. Like, they never mentioned that with Giuliani.
Okay. It didn't exist. Figment of our imagination.
Yeah.
Okay. And last but not least, I want to go back to Ed Reed. I've seen mixed comments on it. I'm not going to say mixed emotions. I think there's always two sides to every story. First of all, I'll say this. As a proud HBCU graduate, BCC didn't need you, right? They'll be okay. They're still going to be Bethune-Cookman. It's almost like what they did with Deion when they were saying, you're not SWAC. You're not HBCU. You don't understand some of the challenges and things that are going on. But that's still not an excuse for it to be going on. So I'm not just saying, hey, sweep it under the rug. But at the same time, when you go into a situation like that, it's best that you understand, because if your expectations are A and the reality is 2, like you're not even counting. I mean, then there's the disconnect. And so when you approach things like that and you take on a leadership role and you take on that role, like you almost say, hey, I'm going to play this out. I'm going to take some things to the grave with me. I understand what I'm going up against. I'm not just going to put all your stuff out there. My goal is not to slander you. The same thing I said when Deion talked about the bowl game in Mobile is you don't gotta go ham. I mean, if you're gonna go ham, you back it up and you like we used to do with the AAR. You kind of layer it. Mm-hmm. Like, this sucks. Here's what happened. This sucks, but here's some other good stuff. Like, Ed Reed hasn't said anything positive about the school, about the Hicks experience. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it wasn't going to work out. Once he opened his mouth the first time, it was downhill from there. So I'm not saying hide the stuff, but if you're going to put it out there, you need to also try to protect it as well and try to do better. And it seemed like a lot of his stuff was for his personal gain and just complaining rather than trying to bring attention and saying, hey, here are some of the problems. We're going to work through this. I'm not here for A, B, C, and D. I'm here for the students. I'm here for the athletes. I'm here for the experience. I'm here to build the culture and bring back the prominence to HBCU, whatever it was. But everything it seemed like he said was negative. So
yeah, we were talking about this a little bit. We were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, and I was saying he tried to come in on that Deion calling out the stuff, but he just didn't have the charisma and the ability to be able to do it in a way that sounded like it was being helpful, right? Like he cared. That's the issue, I think, the most part. If he had been out there picking up that trash himself and talking about, not necessarily the school didn't, and look at what they gave me, but hey, we got to take care of our, our field. We got to take care of our facilities. I'm out here. I'm challenging every student on this campus. If you see some trash, pick it up. We got to maintain it, blah, 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 blah. That would have been a different take rather than the school's not supporting. Look at this trash. Look at this, how these facilities look, blah, 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 blah. It came off, like you said, negative to the point where it's like, you don't want to be here, my guy. That's what it sounds like. Yeah,
it's just like looking at the black community. Like, you can go in the average black community. There's gonna be a difference in economics and stuff like that. And so if all you do is trash the black community, it's like, look at all these beer bottles and all this stuff and all these rundown. It's like, dude, there's some challenges, and we need to come together and reach back out and bring our community up. There's a lot of great kids and like, now I'm hearing you. You acknowledge, hey, we're not gonna act like this shit's great. But we got to acknowledge the problem, talk about the solution, how you're involved in the solution. But if you've never been in that, if you've never been or accepted that or a part of that, then you're just going to keep calling it out. So, Buff, I felt like I cut you off. Sorry about that, sir.
No, you guys said everything. I'm good. Yeah.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Lowe's knows that free is just better. That's why MyLowe's Rewards is free to join. As a member, you earn points towards MyLowe's money on eligible purchases, get exclusive free gifts, and earn free shipping at Silver Key status, all on top of weekly member-only deals. Don't wait. Join MyLowe's Rewards for free today and start saving more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Alrighty. With that being said,
No. She is in Mobile at Addie's birthday party. So she's living her best life. They turned the house into a club, and so they are doing all kind of craziness down there, living their best life with the girls. So y'all got me. But shout out to Addie. Happy birthday.
happy birthday, Addie.
Happy birthday.
And so with that, man, I got a pretty good one, I think. So it's real simple. Dad joke for you. What does a deaf gynecologist do?
Feel his way around.
They read lips.
We're just going dark these last two jokes.
I know, right? Like,
I gotta get them out because these are the ones Sophie can't tell.
Oh God! If you're gonna go there, you're just like, you know.
yeah, man. Now,
Oh God!
if you're riding in the car with your kid and they just ask you, "Mommy, what lips is he talking about?" Email Razio
Yes.
and let him know.
Can you put a disclaimer? This joke is
reading lips is a normal thing that deaf people do. I don't understand.
Mhm.
See, y'all made
Yeah.
it dirty.
Oh, it's us.
Yeah.
It's us. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is the joke that Sophie couldn't tell, but we made
Right.
it dirty.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like when you go to the to like kids movies and stuff, and they have like adult humor in there. It's supposed to be over the kids' heads, but it's supposed to be for the parents so that they can be like, I see what you did there. So that's kind of what we did here. That's what we did.
Oh, there's no we in there. It's you. It's all you.
That's
All
funny.
right. Let's go ahead and do it. Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. It's question time. Once again, when you guys hear the questions, it's when we hear the questions. So who's up first?
It's either you or Rozzy.
I can go. Mine might be pretty quick. Or
We
you
always
know,
say that.
I do, but I think this one may be kind of quick because I'm asking for a single instance, but maybe you guys will have more. We always around this time start talking or thinking about finances and that type of stuff. People getting their tax returns, people are going to get bonuses in a little bit if you're on a bonus structure from your job, that type of thing. And so I wanted to ask you fellas. And I think we talked about this way, way, way back, but I wanted to kind of bring it back up, especially for the Inspire You on air folks that's listening. Shout out to you guys. But I want to know, what was the worst financial decision that you've ever made in your life?
I severely overpaid for my second vehicle. It was a 1992 Jeep Cherokee, aka the Baby Hummer.
Baby Hummer.
Yeah, I severely overpaid for that. It was a circumstance where my Stanza had died abruptly on me, and I needed a vehicle. And I was young, didn't really know any type of negotiating tactics, anything, or the value of a vehicle, anything like that. And clearly my mom didn't either. I was expecting her to maybe know these things because I didn't. And, I got the Jeep, and then, you start like really looking around at prices of the vehicle that you have. And it's like, oh man, I way overpaid for this motherfucker.
Yeah.
So that I was very, very so. And then it like wound up giving me some problems here and there. So I may have a better example as you guys start talking, but that one comes to mind first. I think I was about maybe 19 or 20. So it was a bad, and it was all on me because, I was paying my own car note. So it was a bad financial decision.
Yeah. But that kind of goes a little bit to the cost of being poor, right? People talk about that, but that was pre-internet for one. So it's not like you could have went out and price matched and looked at what was there. And when you don't have access to calling around, verifying, right, having a second car to be able to drive until you find something else, insurance that could give you a rental for a week or two and stuff like that, like that caused you to have to hurry up quickly, make a decision, go to the nearest little used car shop around, or 2 or 3 that you knew had access to because you had driven by it, and then you got price gouged, right? Like that's what happens when you're in those situations. So,
and your credit probably was all over the place, and so you probably couldn't qualify. So I'm gonna give mine, and then I'm gonna follow up because you hit on some stuff when you talked about your mom didn't know any better. So mine was, and I'll say 2, the same situation. One, I guess wasn't too bad. The first one was just stupid. Every time I cashed out my 401k, every time I cashed out my 401k, because I'm young, this money's sitting here, it's there, and retirement's so far away, right?
Yeah.
So the first time I cashed it out is when I moved from Tallahassee to Houston. Cashed it out, might have had $6,000-$7,000. I don't know. I think after all the fees and all that stuff, penalties and all this stuff, I might have got like $6,000-$7,000, and that went fast. Like I just spent it, nothing to show for it, and within a couple of months, I was broke again. It might have made more sense to cash it out when I was broke rather than cashing it out as it's something to have because I was leaving a company. In my mind, like, well, my money's sitting there, let me go ahead and get it. And I came to Houston, put it down, paid on an apartment, all that stuff, was going out, eating, drinking, working, getting my business and stuff together, and just spending money with no real plan. And the second time is when Z was pregnant with Sky, and I wanted to get a new car, but I knew I didn't want to pay a car note. And so that's when I bought her the Santa Fe that still runs today, So I just bought that, paid cash for it, but would have been better off with just a car note or whatever the case may be, just to have that money. What would they have done for me today? I just didn't want to pay a car note. Up until this point, I don't think I had ever had a car note before. I think that was a big no. Actually, I had just got the Sonata, so I didn't want to have two car notes.
Two car notes, yeah.
So maybe it made a little more sense in that position, because Z wasn't working enough to afford a car note. I wanted her to have something that was dependable, as my wife and the mother of my child, and her car wasn't there. But that was it. Those were two big ones. But back to what I was saying with you, Buff, a lot of that comes down to, Risey, like you said, I guess just being poor. The result of being poor, and it's just not the financial sense, it's the resources. It's the fact that a lot of us couldn't go back to anybody. Dude, you were even to this day, to a certain extent, like, you were my financial guide, and we were the same age. I couldn't go to my mom and dad or people to ask financial advice, help to get a loan, to get anything, to get ahead. And it's nothing against them. It's just they didn't have it. So a lot of those decisions was just, I feel like I had to do what was best and make a decision. And I didn't have any other alternatives, but I might have. I don't know. It was just, I don't even think I told you I'd catch up my 401k when I moved to Houston. You probably would have told me not to do it.
Probably.
I think you told me it was okay for the car, but probably not so much for
just to move to Houston, because yeah. Like that, and that again, like you said, it's that knowing when it makes sense and when not. And like you were talking about, I'm still your financial advisor. I know I'm frustrated a lot of times when you guys call or anybody calls me and is like, hey, what should I do? And I don't give an answer. I give scenarios. And it's so difficult because I never want to be the one to tell you exactly what to do. I want to tell you the impact of what you're doing. And then you make the informed decision based on that, right? It's like, hey, if you want to refinance, here's the good of it. Here's the bad of it, right? If you want to cash out your 401k, here's the good of it, here's the bad of it. You got to double up on your retirement because that means that you're $10, $15, $20,000 less in your retirement account if you cash out that retirement account. So it's, any financial planner that's telling you exactly what to do every time. For me, I never wanted to be that because I didn't want that responsibility of saying, here's exactly what you want to do. Type thing, right? Because I'm working with a lot of people that don't have a whole lot of money, right? They don't have that risk, and I want to make sure that if they are whatever risk tolerance that they have, that we're taking all of that in consideration. So I got to give them all the scenarios. I can't just say, "Oh, do this" based off of what I think is the best for your risk tolerance. I want you to understand. Here's your risk tolerance. I think you can go a little bit riskier, so here's what I suggest, but within reason, here's another option for you if you want more conservative option for you. So I always give the options and let you guys kind of pick, but that's not having that from a lot of people. Like you said, your family and everything, that's that generational wealth. That's that part that not just, oh, I'm passing down wealth as in money, but financial management is another piece of that generational wealth. Like people who had money before, who have gone and got loans, who have went through and done this, right? We're going to have those conversations with our kids,
even the resources,
to be able to do it. Yeah.
Even the resources to put them with a banker. I know I was talking to my line brother Derek probably like a year and a half ago one day, and just talking about some of the pressures I put on myself. And he's like, brother, you've done such a great job. If you were to leave the world if you were to leave the world tomorrow, your kids would be better off with a wealth of knowledge. I mean, just the things you have provided than you were. Yeah. Just because of the people, not just the money, like they could lose all the money, but just the people that you've met, that you've been around, be able to connect them with to be able to guide them. They know that there's people there that can help them. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't have that.
Yeah, the networks we build. That's another. Yeah, that's definitely a huge part of it, right? Being able to kind of tap somebody on the shoulder. My daughter wants to get into this industry. Can they come and shadow you? Can they do this? Can they do that? Like that's another piece of it. So, but
hold on. This reminds me. Once again, I was talking to one of my chapter bros, and it's a story. When we were in undergrad, people were going to the career fair. And they asked him, was he going? It's like, no, that's something poor people and first generation college students do.
It's true. I hate to say it. It's so true.
He's like, if I want a job somewhere, I can get with my family and they know somebody that's going to be able to help place me. Like we have the connections to, like you said, if I want to get into banking, I want to do this, like, hey, let me call Rising and see if his company has an internship or something. Those are the things. And when you heard
not just does my company have it, but Rising can reach out and chat the person that's over the internship and be like, yo, here's one my niece's resume, my goddaughter's resume. Can you put her on? And like almost instantly, because not only have you networked with me, you've networked with somebody who networks, right? Like I have a network, so you get to my expanded network, not just your network.
Yeah. And when I heard it then, it was appalling. It was humbling because I was one of those kids that had to go to the job fair. I still didn't get a job, Mm-hmm. But that's real. So I'm bad. My bad. Keep going.
No. I just, for sake of time, I wanted to throw my answer out there because mine was, I think I've mentioned it before, but I bought the condo sight unseen. So.
Well, shit.
That was a horrible financial decision, right? Like I spent $180,000 on a condo that I had never seen. So story behind it is I was with the military. I was gone with the military at the time. I had went and saw one of the other units. So I knew the layout, I knew what the condo generally looked like, I knew the view, I knew everything about it. But I hadn't seen that unit. But I told them that I didn't want a floor level unit. And so what happened was one of the other units came open and I was gone. And it was kind of one of those hot markets where, hey, you got to get in and see it or whatever. So Gigi went and saw it. And she was like, yeah, it's cool, but it needs a little work here and there. But she didn't kind of describe it to me as much as I kind of, so I didn't put my mind around it, how much work it actually needed. And so I went in kind of bidding on like what I would have bid on the other condo or the other unit, not thinking about the work that needed to go into the condo. And so that was just something that, just understanding that when you buy something that large, it's not just about the building or whatever. You got to think about what other stuff you got to put into it, right? Like what improvements, how you really want to make it look and everything, and what's that going to cost to do that. And so it cost me probably, like you say, thousands, tens of thousands of extra dollars to get the condo how I wanted it versus that other unit that I saw that I probably could have got for the same price. So that's just, a cautionary tale. Don't do that.
Yeah. When the housing market was hot, people were doing crazy things like buying homes and not getting them expected because it was so much competition out there. So there was a lot of that type of stuff going on.
And sometimes you get FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
You jump on it. You don't want to be the person who's sitting there left behind when Razi, like, hey, when we got back from Afghanistan, dog, you should try to buy a house. I missed out. So now when things like that come up again, you don't want to be that person that's, man, I'm always second guessing myself. Let me go ahead and do it. And you miss out on that opportunity. Somebody missed out on Google. Somebody missed out on Coca-Cola. Like somebody missed out on every big, investment ever to come out. Hell, I missed out on crypto. My line brother Ed put me on crypto years before. I mean, I think we might have still been going to the doctor for Sky. Sky's got a doctor appointment when Z was pregnant with her. And I'm like, that don't sound right. And I could have bought Bitcoin for...
It still don't sound right to me.
God knows what, I didn't have to stay in, but,
You did make me think of one, though. In the beginning, when I started at TSA, first government job, they was telling us about TSP and the G Fund, the S Fund, the C Fund. And I left my shit parked in G Fund. I'm like, look, I ain't got to worry about that right now. I got plenty of time. I'll worry about that later. And years just passed, money just sitting in the G Fund, not making any money until I finally talked to a coworker. He was like, loser, man, you better put your money in the C Fund. And like Razi knows, I've been showing him the gains I've been making since, but I try not to, but I still dwell on the money that I didn't make all those years that it's set in the G Fund. So that, and I think I told you guys before, Tabitha and I got married when we were 25. She had been going to school. She was getting grants up until then. And then once we got married,
she couldn't get them anymore.
Right. And she wound up having to get loans. And like, can't blame anybody, but it would have been nice to have somebody say, hey, man, why don't y'all wait till she finished school? And we wouldn't have had to pay those tens of thousands of student loans that we wound up paying back. So those are two more.
Yeah, those are really good ones. Like not thinking through what happens when you get married and everything like that. Yeah, like we can still be together for this next year and a half and be engaged, and but let's wait.
Good question, man.
Thanks, man.
Yep, didn't take as long as you.
Oh, it's short. Yeah, it wasn't as short as I thought.
No, that's what I'm saying. Didn't take as long as you thought, huh? No, that was a good one.
Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
Every cup of Nespresso coffee is an invitation to transform your morning routine into a ritual you can treasure each and every day. Using the Vertuo Pup, a simple touch of the button freshly brews bold aromas and a rich, velvety crema layer for delicious cafe-quality coffee at home. Whether you enjoy your coffee hot or over ice, every sip, every morning is unforgettable. Nothing tastes like Nespresso coffee. Visit Nespresso.com or our app to explore our full range of easy-to-use machines and coffees not found anywhere else.
Let me jump into mine. How do I want to word this? How many times on this show do you think we've said, check on your strong friends, check on the strong ones?
Ooh, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
And we hear that a lot now, right? That's almost like cliche, right?
It is. It is.
And Byron, you talk about this a lot, empty words. You know, like, I'm going to pray for you, and people don't pray.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking about you. I ain't thinking about you. Check on your strong friends. I consider both of you guys strong. Do you think that word is getting out? How many people are reaching out to you guys regularly to check on you? Who's just calling you, man? I'm just calling to check in. And are these just empty words, more cliche sayings? Are people calling you to check or checking in on you? And are you doing the same? Are you more the caller or the callee?
So I don't know if this is implied in that saying or not, but I, as you asked the question, I wonder, is it like geared more towards people that are not married or in a healthy relationship? Because I think for a lot of people, if you have a strong friend, one, you feel like they're strong, so you don't have to check on them as much, which is why we're pushing the whole, you still need to check on them, because even though they're strong, it's still nice to have someone check on you. But then also they're looking at it as well, they have their spouse to lean on. So if they're going through anything, they have their spouse. So I think for me, we kind of use this show, the three of us, at least for me, the three of us, we kind of use this show as like, you know, especially before we start recording, we usually shoot the shit for a couple of minutes, and that's kind of like, and then we text throughout the week. And so I think the three of us had a relationship to where we don't even need a prompt. I don't need Ferg to say, hey, is everything okay? I feel like I can come to YouTube, and if something is bothering me, I can just put it out there, and I know I'm going to get some good, positive, helpful feedback. My friend Wendell, our friend Wendell rather, he checks on me. And matter of fact, I had to get used to it, because like he would be calling me sometime and I'd just be like, jokingly, but I'd be like, man, what the hell you want? And he'd be like, I can't just check on my dog? And then I'm like, yeah, you know what? You can check on your dog. What's up, man? What's up? But you know, it's like you're so used to people only calling when they want something that I had to get used to that. I know I do try to check on our friend Sherman, even though he is married. It's just that everything he's dealt with the 17 and a half years being in prison, and just, he had to hit the ground running when he got out of jail. And so I always try to periodically, especially when I don't hear from him for a while, I check on him. Hey man, everything good? You all right? You know, what's going on? Things like that. But I think in addition to, like I said, in addition to having a friend that you think is strong, if they're married, I think that also makes people hesitate and say, okay, they all right. Like, I may have some friends that say, Byron got tablet. So not only is he strong, but he got tablet. So if anything wrong, she got him, and she'll let us know if it's something beyond something she can handle. So I think that's another phase of the check on your strong friends that we probably need to also address, that just because they have somebody, like, sometimes the spouse may not quite know how to handle it or deal with it, or may not notice it, because sometimes, especially men, we try to hide certain things from our spouse, not to come across as weak. So that's something to think about too when it comes to checking on your strong friends.
Yeah. And yeah, you mentioned people you check on and people that check on you. And for me, it was more so trying to figure out who's calling you. You know, like, it doesn't have to be you're on the verge of a nervous breakdown or committing suicide. Like you said, when Wendell's like, can I call and check on my boy? Just in that moment, your guard got let down and it made you feel better. It's just to think that somebody was thinking about you, good, bad, or indifferent. And we all know, you know, let's put it this way, 50% of marriages end in divorce. So it's easy to assume that 50% of your friends who are married are going through something that, you know, unless your friends are just
that has to do with that spouse, and they meet to talk about with you. Yep.
And so, or it could just be to vent about something, just to know somebody else is thinking about. They might not tell you what's going on with them, but it's just, man, I'll just let you know I'm thinking about you, man. Just everything good. And after the second or third time you check in on them, that's when they might open up, because they know that you truly are calling just to say, like, hey, you good, man? Just checking in on you. How's it going? You know, how the wife, how the kids, you know, what's up? So, Rising, let's go. My bad.
That's kind of what you guys were saying. I was actually going to specifically call out Wendell, because, you know, Wendell is one that we'll be in a text message thread and he won't respond or whatever, but Wendell will call and check on you. He'll call and be like, yo, what's going on? I just want to check on you, see how everything's going. So that Wendell is one that definitely does that. You guys do the same thing. But for just like you were asking about, are we the caller or the callee? I'm real bad about calling and checking in. Like if something happens, I call. If something that I physically see happens, but just a random, hey, checking in on you, how's it going? Like Buff said, I think this is a little bit of a cheat code for us, because we know we're going to talk at least once a week, right? We know we're going to sit and shoot this for 20, 30 minutes before we start recording. So it's an easy one for us. But I think, like, Ferg, you call me outside of that a lot and just be like, hey, how's it going? And so, you know, I've got to get better at doing that exact same thing with my friends. It's like just calling outside of just a normal chats and stuff like that. And, you know, granted, I'm busy, but I do have to make that. I've found myself thinking through making sure that I'm there for people way more often than I have in the past. And mainly, I think really after Jen passed, and just see how many people came and showed up for me. Like, I wasn't a big going to funeral person before Jen passed. I hated going to funerals unless it was somebody that was like really, really close to me. I'd go for the family, but it wouldn't be like a, hey, one of my coworkers or one of the bruhs that's not like my close bruh that, you know, we hang out a lot, but I do know him. It's one of my chapter bruhs that, you know, I see him on occasion and stuff. But I've gotten a lot more intentional about trying to go to those funerals because I know how it felt when people showed up for me. And just being able to look out and see that wave of people and everything. And so just that one extra body at the funeral is a big deal to me. Mm-hmm. Like, now I understand just that one extra body, just me being there. Like, I ain't got to say nothing to them. Cause I talked about how a little bit of it is me just feeling awkward in social settings, like not knowing what to say, not knowing what to do. But now I'm coming to the realization that I don't have to really say anything. I don't have to do anything. I just got to be present. I just got to be there. And that makes a huge difference for them. And I think when you talk about just calling in, like, I'm just checking on you. Like, I don't have to say anything. We ain't got to have a whole long conversation. I'm just calling to check on you. How's everything? If you need anything, I'm here. That type of thing. It makes a big difference. So I think that is one of, like, the shortcomings for me. I got to get better at it.
I just want to add, if you're also someone like Rozzy that, you know, you, for whatever reason, you don't like funerals, you can't do them. If you could still just make it, you know, to, like, if you're out of town, to their city or their home, I think just being present, like you said, Rozzy, just helped. Like, I think about how, you know, how devastating losing Jenica was, but how we had moments like at your house to just somewhat distract you for a minute or two here or there, and just, you know, laugh about something or talk about something completely different. Like, I feel like that helps as well. So even if you don't do funerals, just come in town, come and be there for that person. And maybe you can be just like a welcome distraction for them.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, just speaking of funerals, I remember, you know, last year, you know, my grandmother, my dad, just back to back. And there were people that showed up, especially at my dad's funeral, that I didn't even know were coming. Like when people, particularly my line brother, T-Bell, Ball, and Action, again, just like I remember Ball calling me and was asking me about which hotel should he stay at. Should he stay at this one off of, I forgot, in West Mobile, or should he stay in Saraland? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I had no idea that he was showing up and coming to support me. And Wendell, and I had this kind of epiphany or this thought process a few weeks ago when I think it might have been when Wendell got out. It was around the time that this kind of popped in my mind when he, was coming back home from his treatment. And it's like, this dude calls me way more than I call him. He's a better friend to me than I am to him. Hands down, no questions asked. And I have several of those. And this is probably when he needed me the most. And I could have picked up the phone and called him a couple more times just to check in on him, And it's not a guilt trip or whatever. It's just like, it made me think, are we calling to check on those strong people? Or, is it just empty words, somebody checking on him once a week. How's treatment going? That's a lot. Somebody, there's people now that when I sat back and thought about it, if I don't hear from them a week or two, I think something's wrong just because I'm so used to them calling me, just to check in or whatever the case may be. Then it also made me think of like some of the people that, and it's not this person loves me more. It's just sometimes the way we're wired, right? It is what it is. There's a lot of people I just don't call, but there's some people who just, that call me consistently. I just know like this person's going to call me. I know this person's going to call me, and this person's going to call at least once a month, once every other month, just to check in, just to have a little conversation. And when I thought about it, I'm like, that means a lot, just checking on you, especially during those hard times. When my dad and grandmother died, I had people calling me and texting me consistently just to, hey brother, just checking on you, man. Hope all is well. You just never know. So with that being said, I appreciate all the callers and the texters and people who just check in on me, and hopefully I can return the favor. And I just challenge our listeners to not just say empty words and not take it as empty. Challenge. Call and check on your people. Call and check on the strong people. Even if it's just, hey man, I'm just calling to check on you. What's going on? You never know what's going on with people. And everything can be great, but it still helps. It's still needed, and maybe it's the generation now where people don't like to talk on the phone anymore.
Yeah.
Like people are like, why is he calling me? Why is she calling me? Why doesn't she text? Because I want to talk to you.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Good question, man. I mean,
Good stuff.
yeah.
How are we looking at on time?
51 minutes, so it'll have to be a quick one if we do another question.
All right, we'll see if this is quick. So we all hear the saying nobody's perfect, which is pretty much known. And we just celebrated our MLK Day earlier this week. And I think I told you guys before that I was a little surprised at some of the criticism that he's gotten over the last several years with, people bringing up his infidelity and things like that. But it did happen. So it is a part of his story. It is a part of his complete legacy. My question to you guys is, when or is it ever okay to criticize dead heroes, people that are not here to defend themselves? So like an MLK or like a Malcolm X or anyone who, a lot of people look up to and say did great things, but we all know everybody's flawed. So when do you think it's okay, or is it ever okay to bring up or criticize dead heroes when they're not here to, defend what they did or said?
Always okay.
Always.
And the reason I say that is we got to be equal opportunity, right? I mean, we can't call Christopher Columbus a rapist and genocidal maniac and all this stuff that he did and criticize him. We can't go back and criticize the founding fathers for having, slaves and all this and that. And we want to go back and we want to criticize them, but then we say we can't criticize MLK for his infidelity and stuff. I think the whole point of history is to be able to go back and look at it with an objective lens instead of the rose-colored lenses that a lot of people try to have, very soon after a person dies or because they're caught up in the emotion of it all. And so they paint them very colorfully, they ignore the bad stuff, and as you get more educated, that's the whole beauty of it. You start to learn that there's some gray to it, right? They did all this great stuff, but they saved, right? They raped, but they saved. But that's really what it is. It's like, look, you can do both. You can do both. You can do these great things and have some bad things that you did in your past too. And I think from a historical standpoint, from somebody that's trying to be objective with it, I think it's always okay to go back and call out the negative things that they did. And hopefully that doesn't diminish the positive things that they did at the same time.
I agree with you. I mean, we have to look at it objectively I think on multiple levels. For one, to show that the average human can do great things. You don't want to turn this person into a deity where they had no imperfections. But if you use that to try to tarnish their legacy, therein lies the problem.
Yep.
We have to look at history, like you said, objectively. And especially if their faults are part of why we admire them. Like, we don't admire MLK because he had
yeah.
I never thought I would say that. But Christopher Columbus, part of his legacy, part of why we admire them is how he got there. Like, those things, that's one and the same. He raped and he pillaged. Back to that, right? Like, they were doing, but that's how his legacy got built. And then we kind of turned his legacy and we just switched the words and made it all pretty and all this stuff. But when these conquerors were coming, they conquered lands. They were killing people. They brought plagues and war to people's homeland. That's how he got here. That's how, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge that. That's part of his story.
And yes, the United States wouldn't be here if that didn't happen.
Yeah. I'm saying, it's part of his story. It was a huge character flaw. It was a huge flaw at the times with colonizers, but that's who he was. So we have to, the part that he played in conquering America, we have to acknowledge, and I guess depending on who you're asking, the good that came from that. But we have to admit that, there was, to do this, there's some things that had to happen.
I love both of y'all answers. And it's also why I because I know it's become popular to, on Columbus Day, criticize him and say all the things he did. I'm one of the ones I don't partake in that. And it's because I look at it as, because white people already try to whitewash what MLK did. But, they started on MLK, they started bringing up, well, he was and this, that, and other. I'd be probably ready to tussle. So I let that be. I like what you and Razio said, because I think it's important to bring up these flaws and things like that so people in the present can know that they don't have this impossible legacy to try to live up to. Like you always hear the main reason most diets fail is because they try to do this thing that they can't sustain for a lifetime. It's something they can keep up for maybe a week or two and then they fail at it. I don't want that to become what, our heroes of the past are, something that you try to live up to and just feel like you can and wind up failing. Like, they were average people. Martin Luther King was young. Like, I think people forget that too. That brother was young as hell doing some of that stuff, man. So it's just a question that I've always wanted to ask, because I remember when I first started hearing people bringing that up, I kind of like recoiled a little bit, like, damn, what's wrong with y'all? Why y'all doing that? But I think, Ferg, you said it best, or maybe it was Rising. Don't use it to like tarnish their legacy. You can use it to tell the complete story, but you know, their greatness outweighs their flaws. We're all flawed. We all have things that we don't want the world to know about us. So I think overall he did some great things, and a lot of other heroes that you can name did some great things, but they were flawed. They did some wrong things. They wasn't perfect.
And that's the bigger problem, because the people who are saying that are the people who, like, they're intentionally trying to discredit. And I think that's part of the situation. We've become so accustomed to discrediting people. Even if you don't like them, or, you know, if this person has a good point, he can have 100 speeches. But if he comes out and makes a good speech and a good point, you got to like, he had a good point. But, you know, in today's world, you know, he can, you know, clock's once right twice a day, but road clock's right twice a day. He's like, okay, dude, like, we don't always have to just live in the moment. I'm not telling you to become a follower and subscribe to his church or do all this stuff. Acknowledge what this person did. Move on. If they've done more harm than good, we can talk about that. But at the same time, let's not just automatically find ways to detract or belittle or beguile somebody for being human. And I'm not saying it gives you an excuse to, you know, do this, because to me, the best example of all of this is Dr. William Cosby. Like, we still, like, there's still so many mixed, in our time period, there's so many mixed emotions about what this guy, who he is and what this guy has done. You know, hell, I wouldn't probably have went to FAMU if it wasn't for him in a different world and stuff like that. He did some great things. Now this dude still was trash. He was evil and manipulative. You know, like, he did some stuff that just is probably unforgivable. But at the same time, we have to talk about everything, you know? So don't put R. Kelly in there, though.
No. No. Oh, man.
All right, fellas, let's go ahead and do this. Let's close it on out. That was a good question. That was a quick question.
Yeah, it was good.
This episode is brought to you by Nerds Gummy Clusters, the sweet treat that always elevates the vibe. With a sweet gummy surrounded with tangy, crunchy nerds, every bite of Nerds Gummy Clusters brings you a whole new world of flavor. Whether it's game night, on the way to a concert, or kicking back with your crew, unleash your senses with Nerds Gummy Clusters.
You know what's smart? Enjoying a fresh gourmet meal at home that you didn't have to cook. Meet Factor, your loophole in the laws of mealtime. Chef-crafted meals delivered with a tap, ready in just 2 minutes. You know what's even smarter? Treating yourself without cheating your goals. Factor is dietitian approved, chef prepared, and you plated. Pretty smart, huh? Refresh your routine and eat smart with Factor. Learn more at factormeals.com.
So, who wants to close us out?
I can go first. Two things really. The biggest one is Kenyatta, my cousin, that lost her daughter Kaylin in the car accident. I just want to reach out, all our listeners out there. If you know anything about it, she's still trying to look for kind of what happened and the facts on it. We're hearing a lot of stuff about Mobile police officers bumping the car and making it spin out, but Mobile's not releasing any of the information, no cell phones, that type of thing. So it's just a whole lot going on. They're saying that they're still investigating it, but it was in Pritchard's jurisdiction. So
was there a dash cam? That's
what we don't know. They won't release it to us. And so, you know, if you know anything, continue to keep pressure on there. There was a news article on the news. I can't remember what station down in Mobile. They did some interviews on Thursday about it. So we're keeping the pressure on, but if anybody knows anything, please come forward. You can hit up Kenyatta on Facebook, just DM her, and she'd be happy to get any information, or you can send it over to Three Brothers No Sense as our listeners. We'll get it over to her as well. So if you know anything about what happened that night, please, reach back out to us, let us know. And the other thing, I just want to call out Florida one more time. We love to talk about Florida, but now they are trying to cancel African American Studies. So AP African American Studies. Yeah. So once again, it's they're trying to erase our legacy, like you talked about. Being able to criticize what's happening, but or the heroes. But at the same time, we got to learn about our heroes, right? And we got to make sure that people understand that African American Studies and African Americans are part of our history in this country. And so I'm really troubled by that one. But it's once again, it's one of those things that I don't understand how you can live in that state and let things like that happen. But it's that dynamics that's happening there, especially with the Latin community, right? Like if they're voting Republican right now, these things are happening. But what happens if, I don't know if they have Latin studies or whatever, and maybe that's why they really don't care, because they're like, oh, well, we don't need it. We don't have one. They don't need one either. But I think they can start erasing your history if they start erasing ours. That's really, what I think about that.
Good stuff. I believe Governor DeSantis said that they will revisit it, but as of now, they felt like it was a made up course and it's not AP certified level, whatever, something like that. But they voted for him, so that's what they wanted, man. All I got is one. We've been sending a lot of prayers to Damar Hamlin, rightfully so. Continue to pray for him, because even though he's conscious, doctors are saying that he has a long road ahead of him. But I also want to send prayers out to former running back Peyton Hillis, who I believe he saved one of his kids from drowning. And in the process, I don't know if he nearly drowned or something, but he's been hospitalized. And also, Jeremy Renner, a.k.a. Hawkeye, had a snow plowing accident where he was helping someone. And I believe like the plow ran over him or something like that while he was helping the people. So he's been hospitalized since, I believe, December. He's doing better, but prayers to those gentlemen as well. Also, the sneaker ball. We try to tell you, they completely sold out. So hopefully you were one of the lucky people that moved and got your ticket ahead of time. I think there are a couple of people that are reselling some of the tickets, so you may have to, pay that StubHub SeatGeek type price for them now, but that's on you, because we try to tell y'all. And last but not least, you've been hearing Ferg at the beginning of the show say it's a barbershop style type of podcast. And just to be clear, when he says, when you hear the questions, we hear the questions, some people were under the impression that we hey, this week I'm going to talk about that. And Razi, you should ask this. And Ferg, no. Everybody, each of us come up with our individual questions, and we literally hear the question as you hear it for the first time. So when we're reacting, when we're answering, if you're wondering why our answers aren't perfect, that's why. We're thinking on the fly. We're like in a barbershop, just shooting the talking and answering what's coming out the top of the dome. So just wanted to make that completely clear to everybody. But thank y'all for listening.
All right. I appreciate that, Buff. And you were talking about prayer, so I'm gonna go with this. So if any of our listeners are members of the New Glow Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia,
send me the address. I'm coming.
We would love to hear from you. We've had discussions on religion and the part of Christianity in the Black community today, and we would love to hear and see what you guys have to offer. So once again, any members of the New Glow Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, Three Brothers No Sense are looking for you. And with that being said, Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast, 6 Rules of Podcast. Listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. Talk to you next week.